Hey everybody, my name is Joshua and I'm going to be doing a crash course video about 1984 and about power and how it relates to history. How history and power correlate and how the ability to manipulate history gives people power. So, my thesis is in 1984, Orwell shows us that controlling history is power. History is powerful because it shapes the minds of individuals who believe the history to be true, and therefore it shapes the future. So, basically, in 1984, it's a totalitarian government, and they are very controlling. So they want to be up in everybody's mid. They want to know what you're doing. They have microphones, speakers, all this stuff to spy on people and make sure people are doing what they want them to do and thinking how they want them to think. So the government has has full power, has supreme power. So they can do whatever they want. They can kill whoever they want, and there's no rights or anything that they have to worry about there. So, in the Ministry of Truth, where most of the history, where they process their history and where they write the history, the party, which is the government, has like 5 branches of government, I guess they would be called, and one is the Ministry of Truth. And the Ministry of Truth is actually the opposite. It should be actually called the Ministry of Lies or Falseness or something like that. But in the Ministry of Truth, history is revised. It was changed. It is altered so that it can make whatever the party wants to make true and whatever the party wants to make false. So the party can say that we have been in the earth for 9,000 years. And people will believe them because it's in all the history books. There's no evidence saying that it's not there. So, as the party controls, or the Ministry of Truth controls the history, it controls the people because it controls the people's truth, and therefore it controls people's reality. So, oh yeah, in the Ministry of Truth, they do a lot of revisions. So they took in all the books and stuff, all that stuff, and they changed it so that the books only said what they wanted to say, only put forth ideas that the party wanted to be put forth. So next I'm gonna be talking about Winston's role. Winston is the main character of the book. He works in the Ministry of Truth. And his job is to revise the history. So, say Big Brother, which is like the president of the party, he comes on a telescreen and he says, "Oh yeah, the Ministry of Plenty, which is the ministry that takes care of like the economics and all like the food and clothes and all like the gas and all the stuff that they need to be like to live." So let's just say they made 500 shoes. They made 5,000 shoes, and everybody's gonna be getting a pair or something like that. So they can tell the people that on the telescreens, which everybody has to watch, but the people, but it's not true. Like he can say that, but it's not true. And maybe he said that yesterday they made 5,000. Then today he said, "Oh no, we made 1 million," and then that's where Winston's jobs come in. So now he has to go because all the newspapers have to be brought back in, and Winston has to make that adjustment to change the numbers so that it matches up, and so that there will be no evidence against the party, so to say. So Winston's thoughts on the party are interesting too. There's a quote from page 49. It said, well, this is a quote from page 44. It says, surely this was more terrifying than mere torture or death. If all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became true. Who controls the past ran the party slogan. Who controls the past ran the party slogan. Controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past. So what he's saying is that the party has supreme power and there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do as a person to stop them. So this is like, it's like, it's like Winston feels useless and he can't really do anything. He can't retaliate. He can't do anything. There's nothing he can do. He has no power in this situation, and that goes back to my thing that history is power, in that sense. It's also I wanted to relate this to the real world, and to say, like, do we do that? Does, like, our government do that to us? And the truth is, to some extent, they do. Not as crazy as they do it in 1984, but in some ways they do. They shape our opinions and they shape our beliefs based on history. And a good example is Christopher Columbus. When I was little, I just knew that Christopher Columbus was good. He discovered America. He's a great guy. He brought all the people here, and then he traded with the Indians and everything, and he was friends with them, and then that's how we got to America. That's why we had the Columbus Day and all that great stuff. So yeah, and then what they don't tell you about Christopher Columbus is that he was like responsible for like mass genocides of like Native American, like Native people in Haiti and all those like islands and stuff. He like let dogs bite them. He let horses run over them, and then he was even responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, which was a slave trade between the Americas and like Britain and like European countries too. So he shipped slaves. He was one of the first people to ship slaves to like, I guess, Europe and maybe even America to work there and do all that stuff. So he's actually a slave trader, and he's the founder of America. And the fact is, he didn't really find America; he just rediscovered it for his people. But it's very interesting. And then another, which was very similar to this one is very similar to what the Ministry of Truth does. How it just like tweaks little things, or how it what you mean? Like they take in the other information, then they put out the new information. And it's pretty interesting. I read about the Holocaust, and that they had in the biggest concentration camp, which was Auschwitz, the German concentration camp where they were reportedly killed a lot of Jews. They said that 4 million. They had a plaque when I think the war was over. It said that 4 million Jews died here. That's what it said. That was like a fact. 4 million Jews died here. And then some years passed, and then they put up another plaque. They took the other one down. They put out a new one, and it said 1.5 million people died. So that's basically what they're doing in 1984. They're just like changing the history, but we actually have evidence because we're not totalitarian government like that. But it's funny how they did that and how I saw that, and they changed it again. So now they say that less than 1 million people died that were Jews died at that camp. So it's actually a real thing happening in the real world. So my conclusion is that history is very powerful, because if you control history, you can basically control what people think and what people believe. Because if you told me that Jesus Christ is not real, and that he never walked the earth, I'll be like, no, no, no. I know he's real because I have the Bible, and the Bible dated back to blah 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 blah. But think if you could change the Bible, and you say, oh, Jesus was the son of Satan, not God, or stuff like that. So you can actually shape people's ideology and their beliefs. So yeah, history is powerful, very powerful.